Well, today you find me in another of my pipe smoking videos sitting by the Essie, which is on, and I shall be smoking my pipe next to a real fire, which would be lovely. But I'm actually going to slide this, which is a little heat defender. Comes with the Essie, actually. It's very good. It's just a big mesh. Hello? Anybody there? And it goes in front. You slide it across like that to stop the heat if you're working on it. You can imagine a housewife in the 1950s or something with a big skirt trying to cook here, and it catching fire wouldn't be very good, and especially if it's a nylon thing, it would just melt. So this is there to sort of reduce the heat a bit. And as I'm sitting right next to the fire, I thought I would just reduce the heat. And the reason I'm sitting here, as I often do now, which because I love the Essie, I think it's a lovely thing, an Essie Ironheart. I'm actually cooking my dinner, and whilst I'm waiting for it, because I've just lit the Essie about 20 minutes ago, so it takes a little bit of time to get up to speed. And in the oven I've got a couple of burgers and a sausage, farmhouse, genuine farmhouse, and over there, I don't know if you can see that, I have, just warming up slowly, potatoes and carrots, and I might add some peas to it, which is my dinner tonight. The lovely Julia is not with me tonight, so I'm fending for myself, as I often do. And I'm quite used to it. And I have a cup of tea to go with it. So whilst I was waiting, I thought I must get my video done. And old Father John likes his unboxing, and he's always doing his unboxing. So I've got a bit of an unboxing. Not so much because I've already unboxed it, to be honest with you. And there's things in here. But I'm going to be using this pipe that was given to me by Albert, which is a Peterson's pipe. Genuine Peterson pipe with a band of gold. Good at the old duck calls. So I'm going to smoke that because I haven't smoked it for a while, and I wanted to smoke this because I'm going to smoke something which I have not smoked and didn't actually think about smoking. I don't know why, but there is a history to this one. So I'm indebted to a viewer who very kindly sent me some bits and bobs, and his name is Aaron, and he sent me, I hope I've got this the right way around, because it was Ian, that's right, who sent me the cabinet. You may have remember he sent me the cabinet in the previous video, in the week. And by the way, was that all right, doing a video in the week? Are you happy with that? I hope so. So he sent me a box he promised, was it Ian? No, Philip. Wait a minute. Aaron sent me, I'm getting confused. I am getting confused. Aaron sent me a pipe which I looked at in the week. That's correct. And so this was Philip. And if I've got this wrong, yes, I'm sure it's Philip, who said to me, emailed me, sorry Philip if I've got this all wrong, he emailed me and said, I've got a tin of early morning pipe. I've tried it, a few bowls, it's an English blend, not very happy, just wasn't right for him. And he said, would I like it? And I said, wow, yes please, that's very generous of you. So he agreed to send it to me. Well, there was a bit of sort of mix up in things that went, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, it came the other day, and he decanted it into a little, one of these Kilner jars. And these Kilner jars are very good apparently for storing your pipe in. Not your pipe, obviously. It would be a very tiny pipe in that thing, your tobacco. And so he put some of that in. Now actually I have been smoking this and I've had it before, and I do like the early morning pipe by Peterson's. So I'm not actually going to smoke that, but I wanted to say a big thank you to him for sending that. But he also sent something else, which is what I'm going to smoke in a minute. And I'll tell you about that in a second. I'm running out of space up here. So I've got my pipe. Come on to that in a second, and my bits and bobs. I'm obviously not organised, you see, again, because I thought, I'll have plenty of time, I'll just get my Essie going, and whilst that's doing its thing, do its thing. He sent me, and Julia, which was very kind of him, two little things. First of all, he does a bit of leather work, which is very clever. I like people who can do leather work. And so he got me this, which is a portable pipe stand. So, you know, you can put it in your pocket and the pipe goes in there like that, which is very lovely when you're out and about, you know, and you turn up somewhere and you think, oh, I'll just put my pipe in because it's too warm or whatever. And it can go into one of those. You've probably seen it. He made it himself out of lovely leather. Do you like the smell of leather? But more than that, he bought me one of these. Now, I mentioned that I wasn't posh enough to have one of these. And this is for sprinkling your tobacco in when it's a little bit moist and you leave it out to dry, or to sort of de-dry, whatever it is. Or if you're doing a little bit of a blend, or you're wanting to break something up like a flake or something, you can break it up into one of these. And I've seen them, but he made his own. He said, don't look too carefully at the corners. I can't see anything wrong with the corners. And it's a lovely thing. So again, Philip, thank you so much. How kind is that? Just people are so nice. He also sent me, and he sent Julia the same as well, by the way. He sent me this book, which is a cigar journal. And now I don't really smoke cigars, but I think the idea behind this is that you can, because it's just basically fill in the blanks. You could keep, not has to be your cigars, but your tobacco notes. So if you say, yes, 8 out of 10 for that one. What did it taste like? Who it's made by? Blah, blah, blah. So that could be really useful. So I may have to make some notes in there of the tobaccos that I smoke. So that was that. So thank you so much, Philip. That was really kind. And then in this tin, and by the way, I love tins. I just love I've got some tins, old tea tins in the back there, and there's a little flea market where I live, and they've got all these old tins, and I just want to buy them all, but I'm trying to not buy too much stuff at the moment because my house is getting more and more cluttered by this stuff. So I'm trying to not buy so much, but I do like tins, so it may be that what I need to do is get rid of stuff so that I can have more stuff. But actually, because Julia and I are looking for some land, and we want to set up our own little homestead and things and be a bit off-grid and, you know, all of that kind of malarkey. I don't want to have too much clutter to take with me because we don't want to clutter up the countryside. But I have another slurp of this tea because the Essie is getting hot now. I put it up there where it'd be less warm. Anyway, in this tin which says Players Navy Cut, I have put in the other little pouch of tobacco, which came with all the government's warnings, and so I didn't want to show you that. I put in here a little selection of what was in this pouch, and there's a story connected to that. So that's what I'm going to smoke, and you'll want to know what it is. And I shall tell you in a minute. I've lost the pipe. What have I done with it? Just put it back in this box. Hang on a minute. Let's see where here it is. So shove that in there, bung that in there. So he got me, sorry if you can see my legs, I'm in shorts today. I try not to be too short with you. I may have to put another log on this, and I've just got to keep an eye on the thing, but hopefully nothing will. The trouble with burgers and things, sometimes they can stick to the tray. It's not going to be easy for me to hoik that out on here because I've sort of set myself close and I'm a bit trapped in with lights and things. And anyway, you don't want to know all about that, so we'll crack on. So when I was 15, I left school. I left school at 15. And I went to work straight away for a small reprographic place, a little printers, stationary printers. And the smell of ink, if I go anywhere where there's the smell of proper, real printer's ink, takes me right back to those days. I was there for 2 years, working as a printer and operated a print machine and all those sort of things. And then we moved into another premises so the first year was in one premises, and then we moved into another premises, slightly bigger premises. And my boss, lovely chap, I don't know if he's still alive now, but I hope he is, nice chap called Roger Fairweather. I'll never forget him. Really nice bloke. My first boss. Something you never forget your first boss, do you? But he was very nice and very generous. And he smoked a pipe. He smoked a Falcon. You know, the metal ones with the little curly centerpiece. He smoked a Falcon, and he smoked in it Goldblock. And he always used to have a tin of Goldblock lying around. And I remember that most distinctly. He would come into the print room and he would say, "Oh, Richard," and he would have a chat with me about something, often nothing to do with the work. He would just come in and chat about life, the universe and everything, which is why I admired him so much, because he seemed a very wise man. Anyway, he would chat to me about various things, and he'd stoke up his pipe and he'd get his Falcon going, and then he would and huge amounts of smoke would billow from this pipe, absolute plumes and plumes of the stuff. And I would be immersed in it. And as it got this thing going, and there was all this smoke everywhere, and we're chatting, I'm standing by the print machine trying to sort of concentrate on the printing, making sure that there was not the balance between the ink and the water, because you used water to offset the metal plates, to stop the ink sticking to the metal plate and only to the text that was on the metal plate, if you see what I mean. I would be immersed there. I was trying to concentrate on this, and all this smoke would be around me. And then he would turn and disappear. And he left me in the print room on my own with this mist, this fog, this smog of smoke all over the place. And it would take, I remember it as if it was yesterday. Anyway, he smoked Goldblock, and in this tin I have put from the packet, from the pouch that Philip gave me, some Goldblock, and I have not touched it. And I thought I would save it up for today to smoke on the show. And the idea behind this is to see if, you know how smells are reminiscent and they can take you, they're so good to take you back, good for the old memory jogger, which is why I mentioned about ink. If I smell ink, I remember those printing days. Well, it's exactly the same. I'm hoping that the Goldblock smoke will remind me of Roger Fairweather, lovely chap, and those happy days at the reprographics shop and in the print room when he used to come and intoxicate me with the smoke. So if I can undo this without, it's a very tight little lid this, if I can undo this without getting it everywhere, I put in here, it's only a tiny tin, I put in here a couple of bowls through. So let's just have a, I don't know what you would say it smells of. I mean, it smells of tobacco, really. Anyway, so now I've got to try and get that alight, get it in the bowl, which isn't very easy, and do it in a way, I suppose really, I should put this on my knee here. So if I drop any, and I don't know what you call it. Is this called, this is all quite go together, is that shag, or is it, what do they call it? Quick cut? Fine cut? Just whatever? I never quite know. Ribbon cut? Is it ribbon cut? Whatever it is, it's like that. So I'm going to load up the bowl. Do you know, I am dropping some, and it is being catch. Philip, you're a star. Isn't that amazing? That is brilliant. Thank you so much. There we go. And the great thing about this is it's not too stiff, so you can, apart from that bit, you can get it back in the bowl. Not in the bowl. Don't know what I'm talking about, do I? There we are. So this is Goldblock. Do you smoke Goldblock? If you smoke Goldblock, I think it's still an over-the-counter. It makes all the other tobacco seem a little bit, you know, risque. But I think this is still over-the-counter tobacco that you can get. I don't know. I'm going to light it today with my Zippo. Now, it isn't a proper pipe Zippo. It's just an ordinary Zippo. And the reason I'm doing it with the Zippo tonight, and because I know some people say, oh, but the fumes of the petrol will ruin the experience and all of that. I'm not overly worried about that, to be honest, because I don't think it does really. You know, after the first couple of puffs, you've forgotten about it. Is I wanted to go out today, and I walked down to the seafront, because I'm down by the coast here, and I wanted to sit, I was working on my book, and I wanted to work through a difficult scene in my head, and I thought I'd sit down and smoke my pipe, you see, because I often do that, outside and in the fresh air with people about, looking at a man smoking his pipe, going, oh, that's an unusual thing. But it was windy, so I thought, well, I'll take a Zippo, because the Zippo lights better than my gas one, you see, because the gas keeps blowing out. So I filled it with petrol, because the last time I filled it with petrol and didn't use it, all the petrol evaporated when I went to use it the next time. So I thought I'd use it this time, because if I don't use it up, the petrol will just evaporate, because I keep using the very lovely one that somebody else gave me. So, this is Goldblock, and it obviously needs a bit more lighting. Great thing about having the fire here is if I can't light it with one of these, I have to stick the pipe in the fire. Oh, I can hear the cat meowing. but I can't let it in at the moment. Unlike Father John's kitten that he's just got, if you haven't seen that, check that out, it's hilarious. Our cat, Julia's cat really, is a much bigger cat now. It's I think it's about 2.5 years old. That's getting very hot. So I'm just going to shunt this round a bit. There we go. So now I had a lovely chat with Chris from Harriet Pipes because I'm working on my pipe book. And I wanted to get some ideas and some information about how pipes are made and the process, and a bit of history as well, from where briars came from and this sort of thing, and the process, and just some general, background information. How much will make it into the book, I do not know. And that's not really the important thing, because although this book will be aimed at people perhaps who smoke pipes and perhaps watch my channel, but also I want it to be for the layman who doesn't know anything about it. But I don't want it to go into great detail about it, because I don't want people to be bogged down with the minutiae. I can't bear it when an author who knows something and then he bores you rigid with all the information that he knows all about that particular subject. So you just get to the point with, are you just showing off? And so I want to make this just an entertainment book in which there are some elements which would be connected. Well, there's a big element that's connected to the tobacco and to pipes, of course, but I don't need to get into the very detailed part of it, because I want people to enjoy the story more than the accuracy. So what do I think about this? It's not taking me back at all. It's not unpleasant at all. In fact, it's very mild, really. I wouldn't say it was an aromatic. I don't know what's in it. I don't know anything about Goldblock. I only have that connection with my old employer. But you know what it's like. Chris Herriot was said to me, you should have got Julia to smoke the pipe and then you come into the room and smell what it's like and see if that would take you back. And that's probably what I should do, and maybe I will do on another occasion. That's very nice. Now, I'm a bit concerned about my burgers, so I might just take them out and try and flip them round. I'm sorry about this. You might see my legs. I just warn you in case you're of a nervous disposition. I'll try and keep bent down so it's not too hideous. And then over here I'll probably need to put those on as well. So I didn't intend this. I thought I'd just get through this quite easily, but oops, I'm knocking my lights over at the same time, so bear with me a second. Oh, got to be careful you don't snap your hands off here. But you'll get to see the inner workings of an Essie. Look at that. Can you hear that crackling away? I hold that up to the microphone. Yeah, they're doing really well. So I just need to, oh well, there we go, flip them over, turn the sausage around a bit, flip that one over. That's looking good. Shove that back in. Now the thing about an Essie, and this will surprise you, well it might not, it surprises me. Let's just get back into position, and oh, whilst I'm here, I may as well just stick another log on. This gets very hot. It's this real, real fire we're dealing with here. I'm actually enjoying this Goldblock. Now, I am tempted to buy a tin of it, a 50-gram tin, because it's quite pleasant. Now, oh yeah, I was going to I'll just move these because I better get the potatoes going. Hold on, more legs. All this is very hot. The thing about an Essie is it does get hot. all my tea towels, they do get blackened very quickly. Listen to that. Can you hear that? That is now, it's on the hot plate, but before I put it on the back, and that's hot, as in it's good simmering. So this one is not so hot, this one's very hot. I might have to move it over here in a minute because it'll start boiling. And I put things, if I'm timing things, I'll put things on the back there just to warm it up. So if you've got something you're defrosting, like peas or broad beans or something from the freezer, I might put them at the back there, and then that'll defrost them. And then when you bring them across here, they're warm, and then they come to the boil much quicker when you're ready, if you see what I mean. But that boils really quickly. So I may actually just slide that over there, although I do want it to boil quickly. And put that down. Sorry about the leg movements. Could have been worse, I suppose. Anyway, yeah, what I was going to say about, let's move this over because it's extremely hot now. Occasionally I make my own bread, and it's very lovely, and I enjoy making things. Or sometimes, cook sausages and bacon and all sorts, roast potatoes, or anything you can do in an oven, all of that. The thing though is, never forget what you put in the oven. And I'll tell you why. Because it's an oven with a chimney, you don't smell any of it. So if you're baking bread, you don't get that nice bread smell to remind you, oh yeah, I've got some bread in the oven. You don't get that. Also, you don't get the nasty smells. If you burn something, you don't get it either. But if you forget, and I've done this a few times, some bread, bacon, sausages, things that you think, oh, I'll just put that in to warm up, and then you forget about it. And I've come down next time and I'm cleaning out the essay or whatever, and I come across these charcoal lumps, and I go, oh God, that was my bread, or that was my baked potato. I completely forgot about it, and I've done that so many times. So there's a word of advice, really. Not that you get much advice from me, but that advice is, if you've got a wood-burning stove like this, and you've got an oven, and it's got a chimney, all prerequisites really, then don't forget what you've got in the oven, because if you do, you won't smell it burning. That is really nice. Philip, thank you so much. So my plan with the book, the pipe book, series of short stories, all linked together with, I'm hoping, some form of twist, bit of fun, a bit, some bits are going to be serious and some bits are just jolly. I want to keep it light, I don't want to get it heavy. And it's early days, so I'm hoping I could get it ready for Christmas. So that's the plan. But whether I will or not, I don't know. I'm still working on the Biggleswick book. So the Biggleswick book that I'm working on, I've been working on the last chapter, and you may have seen I print it in a book form. I've done all my red penning. I've got up to date with editing it myself. And now Julia comes in and she reads a chapter aloud, and I'll sit there with my pipe listening. She'll still notice things I've missed, commas and bits and pieces, spelling errors, missing words, double spaces, all that sort of stuff. And then, but because I'm hearing somebody else read it, I can hear whether it's flowing or not. And I'll say, oh, that's a bit clunky actually. Can we change that for another word? And Julia will often come up with a better word, or we'll debate a sentence and say, well, actually, that bit's not really necessary, is it? I'm sort of overstating something. So it's a real help having Julia do that. I'm dedicating the book to Julia, of course, because she's my love, the love of my life. So I'm dedicating this one to her. My previous books, some which are published and some which are in the state of various various versions, either a couple of first drafts I've got from different books, one that's nearly done, the third of my Splidge series, which I know sounds a bit dodgy, is just needs really transposing all the red penning. I mean, I did that about 5 years ago. But I would like to finish them. There's one I've got which is aimed, it was originally written for children, and it was set in the Second World War in Sussex, down on the coast with the Battle of Britain going on overhead. And I've realised now that actually I can turn that very easily. It's quite complex, not complex, it's not complex at all, but it's an interesting story, and I can turn that very much into a grown-up, ordinary story, you know, for adults, for grown-ups, anybody really. I just need to work a bit more on the text and go deeper into the characters and all of that, which will be really interesting. I notice that Father John, I keep mentioning Father John in today's episode, but he's a very interesting chap. I like Father John. He was talking about the importance of reading, and if you've seen any of my previous videos, you'll know I've got stacks of books all over the place. I love reading. I try to read every single day, and reading, I think, is so good for extending one's vocabulary, giving you different ways to express yourself, to explain yourself. And I hope that my command of the English language, which isn't by any means as good as many people's, I'd left school at 15, so most of my language, really, my English, is self-taught, I think. And I hope it's going to be all right in these books. I don't know. I don't profess to be a professional author. I don't profess to be a professional writer. I do it because I love it. I like coming up with stories and plot ideas and scrapes. I always think you've got to put your character into scrapes, whether they're minor scrapes or big scrapes. Bit of conflict is always good, I think. But so with my Second World War book, I think there'll be a much more emotional element, which will be a bit of a challenge for me as well, because perhaps I'm not very good at that. So I'd like to challenge myself to doing that. And that is, it's set on a farm. I love farms. That's why I want one. And it's set on a farm during the Second World War, during the Battle of Britain. Things happen. And it's set at a time when, and I find this really interesting, and I love writing about these limitations that you have in the past. It's set on a time when there wasn't electricity in the house, there was water, there wasn't electricity, and there wasn't a telephone line. I think today's world is hard, difficult. It's a challenge for writers to write in a period in which everything can be looked up on your mobile phone immediately. Or if you're in any kind of scrape, you can just, you know, you've got to always say, oh, my battery was flat, or I left the phone in the car, or it was, the screen got cracked, or some, you know, naff old excuse. Because you need to find an excuse why you can't use the phone, because the phone these days it's just the answer to so much. So it's no use to characters. So back in the Second World War, you know, even if they wanted to make a phone call, they'd either go to the village shop or to the squire's place. And then they would have to see if anybody was in and if it was convenient and offer something to pay for the phone call, all those sort of things, which just makes it very interesting. And of course, there are still people around that either remember that actually happening, or they've read similar books where that's happened and so they know it's true, or they remember the films of that. So I find all those sort of things absolutely fascinating. That's why I love reading and writing. In the past, I didn't read quite as many novels as I should have done. I read lots of history stuff. Whether I can remember it all, I don't know. But I've got references in books. And also, and I love reading novels now more than it's funny how you switch. I used to love reading. I still like reading bits of history and things. But I think what I'm interested in is character relationships. Now, I'm not saying that in my Biggleswick book, which is narrative-led more than character-led, is true. I think. Well, I've had what Father John has had happen a couple of times where the camera came to the end of the time, so I better stop. So sorry about that. I've enjoyed this. I've enjoyed nattering. I've obviously chatted on far too long, so I better go. I think the bowl is empty now. Yeah. Bit of a noisy draw on this one, but it's been very enjoyable. Thank you for watching. And with luck, I'll have another one midweek for you. I'm going to switch this all off and get my dinner going. Till next time, take care and bye for now. Lovely.